Hey everybody, it's Steven from Where Else Philippines. I'm gonna take an opportunity to answer some of your questions in this next video, so let's get to it. Hi everyone, this is Steven and I want to welcome you back to my channel, Where Else Philippines, and it's another episode from my expat life as a retired American living here in the Philippines. And you can see in the background, I've got the Christmas tree is up. I think you might have seen a glimpse of it during the Thanksgiving video that we did. And I just want to say thank you for the wishes I got for the Thanksgiving video. Special shout out to M&M Journey, MN, Joseph Relaford, Gary Dunbar, Sean Hill, Jeff Assassin, the incomparable Josephine Hunt, and Al Messia. I think I said it right. I hope I said it right. These are the folks who gave me the shout out, so I'm shouting back, I guess. I did have some questions that I looked over in the comment section from the last few videos that I want to address. And so I want to go through a few of those now. For example, I got a question from a Mark Bannister who lives in the Atlanta area, and he asked me a very interesting question. You know, what's it like for the streaming services here? I do have a subscription to the local cable. I've had it since I've been here. The issue that I have with the cable company is that they take away channels, they add channels. The channels that they add, I usually don't want. Channels that they take away, I usually did want. For example, they had a whole array of different sports that I like to see. NFL, Major League Baseball. They even had an NBA channel, which I'm surprised because Filipinos love basketball, and that channel kind of disappeared. If it weren't for the streaming of other channels that I'm getting from programming in the US, I probably would be pretty upset, but I don't miss the fact that now they're not carrying NFL, although they may have added it back just recently, as well as Major League Baseball, which they had also taken away. But I also now have access to Netflix. I don't have to use a VPN for Netflix, which I used to have to do, until they caught me and said Netflix is not available in your area. But now it's here and available. It comes even included when you buy a smart TV. There's also the Apple TV, which I just discovered, which has some pretty good movies on it that I'm starting to watch. There's the Prime Video, that there's a lot of movies that they show. Some are just not available in the area that I'm in, Philippines, which is a drag. But I have seen a few good movies on that. There's also, because of the VPN that I have, I'm able to connect to something called US TV Go, which has all of the network programming that you can get in the US. And as long as the VPN is okay, I can get the old movie channels, because I like to see like the old Turner Classic movies. That's a favorite of my sister. They don't have yet, and I haven't really looked into like the Disney Plus or the HBO Go and Hulu and all that, because Hulu's not available outside of the US. Disney Plus, I think they're going to do it, but yeah, I don't think it's ready yet. Another channel that I can look at through streaming through VPN is something called Pluto, which is just like the US TV Go. Somehow, every time I turn it on, it comes up with Mission Impossible, but hey, I'll watch that too. No big deal. So that's it. There's plenty of streaming services that you can get. Some you need a VPN for it, others you don't. Unless you really want to see local programming, the game shows that they have with giggles in the background that I just can't stand. You could probably watch those channels I mentioned, and even on YouTube, I think. So it's just a matter of time when I get around to it. The cable's probably going to go. So that's that. There's a Daniel Hackney from Southern California, I think. It's not so much a question that he asked, but he reminded me about having to get accustomed to the metric system here. I mean, yeah, it's fine. You have to convert pesos to dollars, or do all of that. And right now, I think it's about 50.4 pesos to $1 US, which is, it's been hovering around 48, 49.50 for the last year or so. It's just easy to say 50 pesos a buck. But you also have to worry about, it's now Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. So, Celsius is 0, where that's freezing because that's 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So if I see a temperature of 30 degrees Celsius, then I know it's going to be like 86 degrees. When I'm running my AC, I like to keep it at 24 degrees, which is about 75, and that's cool. But Daniel pointed out when we were talking about sizes of rooms, and I said, oh, I have a 400 square meter condo, and he said, you're nuts. That's like 1,200 feet. And he was right. I meant 40, not 400. So, meters to kilograms and liters to gallons, all these things you need to keep in mind when you're looking. So, for example, 1.5 kilometers is about a mile. 1 meter is 3 feet. When you're looking at liquid, a liter is about 1/4 of a gallon. So a gallon of gas here, when you do all the conversions, right now is about $4.50. So don't complain. It's expensive. I fill up my car maybe once a month. Because I'm not going out as much as I used to, basically because of the pandemic. So I'm not concerned about the price of gas. I wasn't concerned so much about the price of gas when I was living in the US. So, I mean, if I want to drive, I got to pay. So what's the big deal? Kilo of meat or vegetables or whatever, kilo is about a little more than 2 pounds. That's it. Basically, the metric system. Everybody uses it except for the US. I got another question from a Michael Richmond, who is from Cleveland area, and he's thinking about coming here to the Philippines, and he wanted to know, like, where should he start visiting first? And he's got about $1,600 in his budget. Well, it's a good question. What I have to say is this. I came here 3 times over 5 years. I always came through Manila, and from Manila, I went up north and I went down south. So in those 3 visits that I made, I went up to the Ilocos region, Pagaput, which is like right up there, and tippity top almost part of Luzon. I've been south as far as Palawan, and I've been east over to Bohol. And those 3 trips, starting out from Manila and returning back to Manila, I would say I probably spent roughly $2,000 if I include the hotel, the travel from Manila to these places. I think one was even on a timeshare exchange. I don't know, are they still doing that? But that is how I kind of went around and, made up my mind of where I wanted to go and that I didn't want to retire here. I didn't go to Dumaguete, which a lot of people say they are interested in going to. I didn't go to Davao. I didn't go to the Leyte Gulf. I didn't go to Saragao Island, which is supposed to be very nice. I didn't go to any of those places, and I actually still haven't gone to any of those places. So I'm not knocking them. You could probably go to Dumaguete and cover your $1,600 expense easily. You could probably go to Davao and cover your $1,600 expense easily. If you're talking about staying here for a couple of weeks. You do really need to take several trips if you're thinking about moving here. If you just come for one visit and say, hi, I was here, I saw this place or saw that place, okay, then, you might as well go all out. But if you're looking for a recommendation, I really can't give you that because that's really going to depend on what it is that you're looking to do. Manila has a lot of activity, but no beaches. Dumaguete has beaches, but not much activity other than drinking. Surigao is beaches. Davao, I don't know. And again, since I've been here, I've been to other places, in Baguio and Quezon Province, which is over on the Pacific side, Palawan, again, a couple of times. Mindoro, which is close. I actually took a Roro from my house, brought my car on the ferry. Boracay, nice beaches. Iloilo, nice beaches. Did go to Mindanao finally, and Cebu. Cebu is very nice. It's another city type living like Manila. Again, every one of these places speaks the Filipino language a little bit differently than the other. So I won't say anything more about that. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about a question that came from Michael B. Michael, I don't know where you're from, but your statement was, I've been here 10 years and, what about the healthcare system and do I carry private health insurance? Well, I've heard recently a lot about something called the Pacific Cross Peso Plan. It's got 1,500,000 lifetime coverage for what they call premium service. They have something called MaxiCare for seniors, and I think they've just recently opened up PhilHealth, which is the Filipino national health care plan for our nationals, which is good, especially if you are going for one of the Philippine Retirement Authority visas that they offer, because then that premium, I think, for the year is about $15,000. I don't have medical insurance, but I do have meds that I take for maintenance, like for hypertension, for gout, for cholesterol control, vitamins, and I do an annual physical at Good Hospital, and that costs me every year in total roughly $2,000. I think that's probably good enough. The hospital here are okay, they're good. I mean, they have different levels of hospital. A level 1 hospital is at a minimum has an operating room, recovery room, maternity wards, clinical labs, x-rays, a pharmacy. Level 2 is all of that plus, intensive care units, specialists in gynecology and pediatric. And a level 3 has more of the advanced specialists, radiology, general surgery, ERs, ICUs, training programs for doctors and nurses. And a level 4 is what they'll call a trauma center with life support capability. There are a number of top class hospitals. Philippine Heart Centers is regarded very highly here in the Philippines. St. Luke's Medical Center happens to be the hospital that I go to often. Makati Med, Asian Hospital, there's a whole slew of hospitals that rank very well in terms of care. Several of these hospitals are public hospitals and a couple of them are private. Like St. Luke's is, I think, private. It's the Southern Philippines Medical Center in Mindanao is supposed to be the largest in the Philippines. I'm not in Mindanao. And of course, you have to think of the benefits and drawbacks in choosing the type of hospital you want to go to or the clinic care that you receive. Clinics are okay if you're just doing outpatient, routine, preventative care kind of things, quick checkup. There are some hospitals that offer clinic type services depending upon the physician. Public hospitals are generally cheaper than the private hospitals. The care is just as adequate. The public hospitals have a higher number of beds. They accept, pretty much any kind of insurance. It is illegal in the Philippines to be held in detention of the hospital for not paying your bill before you leave, unless the patient didn't sign a promissory note that was secured by a guarantor. The patient has not been deemed recovered and the patient is staying in a ward. If you meet any of those conditions, they'll keep you on that first stories. That's basically it. I think as long as I try to stay healthy and take my vitamins and do some exercising, I don't have to worry about any long hospital stays. I've had to go to the ER twice in the 10 years I've been here. It didn't cost me an arm and a leg. I'm sure all of the tests that I had to take in following up would have been much more expensive if I were back in the US. I was happy with the treatment that I got in the hospitals. So that's it. So, this was just a simple few minutes of answering some questions that people had. I'm sure there's other questions that I would probably come back and talk about at some point in the future. So, again, if there's something that I haven't addressed in the past video, or that you want an update on, like how much is the cost of living again, when we're going to see your house, that kind of stuff. Those things are coming, don't worry. The places that I've mentioned that I've gone, I have some still photos. I can show those, but and talk about that a bit, and maybe a little bit about how those trips go. These are things that I'm considering for the future. Blessed again to answer any questions. So I thank you for tuning in. This is a Q&A kind of thing. Okay, so until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe. And Christmas is coming, so put up your trees. With the fact that they're loosening some of the restrictions on movement within the country, it's looking hopeful. It's looking almost like a normal Christmas time of year. I expect there'll be carolers coming to knock on the door and sing. the neighbors are playing their Christmas musics, and I have my soundtracks on Spotify, so I'll be playing mine as well. And in a few days, I guess we'll go out and start getting some deliveries for the stuff to go under the tree, because right now there's nothing under there. So looking forward to it. So until next time, this is Steven. See ya. Where else, Philippines?